In this video, we will take a quick look at a student turn-in form that you could have your students fill out once they complete assignments in your class. This is a great way to help them take some ownership in their learning and to really reflect on what they did and how much effort and time they put into the assignment. So let's look at some of the critical features needed for a form like this. The first thing that we highly suggest is that you build in required questions. So we want to always toggle these to be required so that students can't skip these. And those first three questions, the suggestion is to make those first name, last name, and if you have more than one class period, making a class period question. Of course, you're more than welcome to add in a question requiring the date, even though the Google Sheet you get is timestamped, so you may not need to worry about that. Once you build that into your first section, we'll use this add section feature to add in a section for the parts of our turn-in form. So the first part is the self-assessment section, and this is where we're letting them look at their exact project or piece of work and give them a grade. Like, how do they think they did? What grade do you think they earned? And what I love about this one is not only are you giving them those grades like the A, B, C, F and the range, but you're giving them a description of what that would look like. And I think that's really important because kids may not really realize what those entail, right? And then we give them the option to explain what kind of grade they think they got, why they should get it. And then all of these, again, we're making them required because we don't want them to skip these things. If you think they're going to have a longer answer, you would choose paragraph for the question type. For a shorter answer, you could just choose short answer. And then in the last piece of the section is where you could add in that rubric that we showed you in the teacher rubric or student rubric videos that we have in this course. This third section is probably the most important section because it lets them really give some feedback to you about the assignment, about the project or whatever they were working on. And there's a new critical feature here that we haven't looked at yet, and it's called the linear scale question type. So when you come up here to choose your question types, you can choose linear scale. And what you get to do is you get to choose what the lowest number would be, and your only options are 0 or 1. So in this case, we're going to give them the option of a 1. And then you can go as high as a 10 for your highest end of the scale. We suggest an even number because if you know anything about Likert scale type things, a lot of us tend to just pick the middle because that's easier for us. So if we give them an even number, they really do have to lean toward one end or the other. And then what you do here is you label what you want the ends of that scale to look like. So for 1, you're saying it was a really easy assignment, and for the highest number you give it, it was really hard. And you're going to use this linear scale for these other questions. How much did you learn? And again, you may use the same scale, but you're going to just label the ends of those differently, depending on the question that you're asking them. I love this question. This is for them to rate their effort. And when you give them that option, hopefully they'll really think about, did I use 100% or not much or somewhere in between? And I think that's a good self-reflection piece. And then finally, I would end your turn-in form with an optional question where they can share out anything else that you didn't address. Maybe it's feedback, a further question they have, something they want to say about it, and you give them a little prompt. And if you make that optional, then they can choose to fill that out or not. So now let's take a look at what your students will see when you share this with them. So I'm in a student view, so I'm going to go ahead and fill out. I'm just going to do some generic things here just to get through these required questions. Because we built it into sections, you get kind of the housekeeping stuff out of the way first, and then you hit next, and then now we can see that they get to choose like what grade range they think they fell into, and they get that description here. And then they answer in all those questions. So I'm going to go ahead and answer them in really quick so I can show you the last section. And let's just pretend I did a great explanation there. And then if I had added a rubric here, they would have graded it using the rubric that I provided. And then finally, when you get to that last section, you can see what those linear scale or Likert scale questions look like. And then they have those low ends and high ends. And again, feel free to make the scale what you want. We just highly suggest an even number so they don't just keep choosing the middle of the road and then that optional question at the end, and then they submit. And when they submit, I'll show you back at the edit form, make sure you've had it set to submitting more than one response so that you can use this for all of your assignments. You don't have to continue recreating new forms. So really quick, back here in our edited part of the form, just make sure when you go to the responses, not only do you set all of these things up the way you want to, but you want to make sure you keep limit to one response turned off so that they can continue to fill out this form with each assignment that you give them to fill it out with. So and just remember, we provided you the template for this. So once you use that template, you can now customize it as you see fit, add in a little flair with the customized theme, change up the questions as you want to, and then use this repeatedly with all the assignments your students turn in.